Well, hi there, dear dreamers, and welcome back to Emmy Soleil Dreamwork. Some weeks ago, I came home from one of these life journeys. I went north to clean up and sort in my mom's home, in which she and the rest of our family has been living since the early 70s, so gosh, was there things to do. I was literally buried in the past for more than a week, and when you start digging into history this way, through decades of dust, through photos, letters, clothes, old toys, household appliances, porcelain, school books, receipts and written notes, yeah, you name it. The memories that comes up are kind of literally in the face, so it's impossible to escape them because you are physically sitting in the middle of all the things that belong to that old time. It's like a time travel filled with both pain and of course with some laughter too. So my mother has severe dementia and Alzheimer's, and she has moved to a special housing. And my one brother and I have arranged her new home pleasantly with her dearest belongings as well as paintings that she has painted. And I have to tell you, she has been a fantastic artist through the years. But nowadays she doesn't pay attention to what's around her in the same way. She can't really enjoy it in the moment. But when being showed it, she thinks it's pretty, but she can't remember it is her that have painted it. So, well, it's painful. I talked to her, hugged her, combed her hair and held her hand, but she can't remember that afterwards. She can only remember that she misses me, because this is our theme through life, and this is what she always says every time we speak. So my mom's alive, but she's a shell of herself, and now I have her wedding dress in rose silk hanging in the hall and my childhood curtains down in a laundry room, and I can call her and we can speak about the past in a way that she can participate, but she can't remember that I have called her the minute we hang up. There is an expression that says that when a mother dies, it's like losing one of the 4 quarters. And even if my mom is still in her body, kind of, she's not there. And this is so painful. But there is also so much healing in this painful emotional work. I love my mom. I have always loved my mom, even though we have a history filled with pain and separation. I've been missing her most of my life, actually. The first 5 years because of unfortunate circumstances that have created the repeated physical separations between us. Actually, she was like a mirage to me, someone from a fairy tale, a very beautiful fairy who disappeared from time to time and came back sometimes. And later I have been missing her because she was so stuck in her pain and I in mine. I had become so afraid of being abandoned again, and therefore I distanced myself emotionally for many years from the person who was naturally the most important one during my childhood and through the rest of my life too. And she has not understood me, not been able to see me, my pain, and there has been religious things too keeping us apart, and it all has led to that I have been shutting her out even more. But it's funny to say that it actually was when she fell deeper down in her dementia and Alzheimer's that we began to get close again. She changed mood-wise and I let my guard down. So during the last 6 or 7 years I have led our conversations into actually painful areas. And this has been so important, even though it didn't bring the kind of healing that would have been there if we had been able to sort things out earlier. I couldn't have my mom back that I needed during my childhood, and we couldn't have the atonement we have needed for so many years, but we had the second best. And the important thing is that in the aftermath of all this, all that is left is love. And in this love, I have rooted my pain during this painful work in our home this week up north. I have slept in our old bed, standing in my old girl's room. The old familiar furniture have disappeared, one piece after another, and the walls have become empty. Around me there has been chaos and dust, echoes and old fragments of my mother's self, messy and unstructured in the way it is when sorting. It has felt like taking her life apart, which consisted of our whole common history too. It has been a very difficult time, but very, very good to endure. And all this time outside it has been snowing. There has been that kind of amounts of snow that is only seen in the northern areas here around. So much snow it has been that the sounds disappeared. It made me feel totally isolated from the rest of the world, in a bubble. And I do love snow, even though I had to have been forced to shovel up my car every day so it would not disappear forever in the cold white blanket. And even if the long drive there and back home was both risky and exhausting due to the weather and road conditions, but actually the amounts of snow had helped me. I know it makes no sense, but I just wanted to say it. The bottom line in this speech is that mothers are important, and that we have to dig deep to solve these long-term wounds. And it has taken me a long time to figure out the deepest significance of my own mom in my own life. But through all filters of pain and questions and years of feeling sad, angry, wronged and misunderstood, I found that my mom has a very special place in my heart that no one else can take. And that I love her for what she is and for what she has been, for who she has been. I have been forced to be the stronger one for as long as I can remember, and this has formed me to be the strong person I am today. Or more, both strong and weak, and both compassion and distancing. I guess human. And the ground core of this love that always has been there between my mom and me through all the layers of pain has been the compass I needed to take me along the path my soul had chosen before I came here. Just as much as I needed my grandparents' safety during my early years, I also needed my mom's way of being who she was, because my grandparents gave me my backbone, but my mom gave me my heart. And this heart has matured during this life into what it is now, a heart filled with love and understanding. When I speak to my mom nowadays, I always tell her that I miss her and that I love her. This confirms our common lifelong longing for one another and the love that has always been there. And this is the piece of the puzzle that has always been missing in our common picture. So dear ones, it's so important to heal wounds, especially those who have been there for a very long time. And doing this is actually like cleaning that basement you have not been in for 30 years, and you know you will find both forgotten and unknown things in those deep levels, and what comes up will be up for a reason. Either it is supposed to be thrown away because it has served its purpose, maybe it's because it is taking too much space from other things in life, or maybe you will find something that gives you answers to something that has always felt inexplicable. It could also actually be like fishing, for that sake. What you find can be a totally unknown fish, a new kind of nurture for your soul after some serious research of its true nature and cooked in the right way. So old wounds are really like subconscious treasures. Finding them means not only being able to validate the old pain, clean away the inflamed anger, and heal original trauma, it means as well that you will be able to find that shadow part of that specific trauma. That totally unknown fish that has been swimming deep down under the radar is always affecting you. And maybe as well it has poisoned your emotions and thoughts. This fish has to be transformed in order to be nurturing to your soul. It can't stay. It has to be properly cooked after the potential poison is gone too. And my shadow part from the ongoing trauma with my mom made me think for many years that I didn't want to be with her. Of course this wasn't true, and for many years I attracted relations reminding of our painful way of relating to each other. And this happens when you need to heal something, but the old pain is out of reach because it's in the form of repressed and forbidden emotional reactions. Your shadow will then in time start mocking every inch of your life because it wants to be seen, heard, and healed. And if keeping on walking that path, you will finally have a really hard time to put up with yourself, and this all will be projected on the ones around you. And this is very human as well as it is very painful, and here healing is really needed. Sometimes the original pain comes from unsolved situations in earlier lives, and this is what karma is about gravitating towards situations in life that allow us to heal what isn't healed. It's nothing about punishment, never. It's merely about learning and understanding and changing. So let me tell you a somewhat abbreviated story, which to some may be hard to believe, but nevertheless a story I find to be true because of my many dreams telling me so, as well as memories that have popped up and giving me trustworthy details about it. So in an earlier life, me and my mom were sisters. She was the older one and I the younger. We lived in the outskirts of PDV in Loire in France, together with our brother and parents. My sister was ill for quite a long time and was bedridden her last years. I was about 6 years younger than her, and when I was in my full blooming teens, getting ready to meet the world, she was dying. It was so unfair. She had been my role model and beautiful angel big sister, and when the sickness turned her into someone I didn't longer recognize, I didn't want to be near her because her room smelled with medicine and illness, and as much as I was ashamed of it, I wanted to escape my hours by her side. I used to sit there and read to her after coming home from school earlier. But now the room was dim because she could not stand the light, and her emaciated features became so frightening in the shadows. She became moody and angry because of the pain and because she felt my growing aversion towards being in that room with her. And when my older and as well her younger brother moved to Paris, I wanted desperately to come with him. I wanted to inhale life and not death. I was young and egocentric, but I was of course also very afraid of what was going on. Of that I was about to lose my sister. I wanted to deny and I wanted to forget. So after pestering my parents about a year, they allowed me to move to my own aunt in Berlin after my brother had promised to take me under his wing too and keep an eye on me. So my sister was dying then, and I couldn't bear going into that room anymore. She didn't even recognize me anymore, and I felt so much guilt. She was about to die and I only wanted to get away. Even though my mother was very disappointed with me for not staying until she passed, I went. And shortly after I took off to Paris, my sister died, and I only wanted to suppress the knowledge of that, as well as the fact that I had fled. This life was a very significant one to me. I lived a very happy, unconscious and innocent life in a happy family until my sister was ill. And that trauma was actually the introduction to war, since this was in the beginning of the time for the German occupation in World War II. I had met a young man in Paris with whom I fell in love, an artist who was friends with my brother. We all became active in the resistance, and we were as well Semites by heritage, and it didn't end well. But there's no need to go into those memories. In this ongoing present life, anyhow, my mom has blamed me for abandoning her. And this hasn't made any sense before beginning to remember these earlier life memories. You know, even though I obviously was the abandoned one as a child, she projected that the other way around, so I was the one abandoning her. And this was of course a result of that she was still in pain from feeling me distancing from her in the past common life then, yes. So she has, in a hurt, immature way this life tried to force me to want to be with her. And I have wanted to be, but as I told you, it has been the totally way around. This has been very confusing to me, and it all has grown into this messy tangled ball in complicated emotions. The pattern repeated itself when I fled from her, and this all seemed impossible to solve. But it wasn't, of course, because life always brings us keys and doors to put them in. And in this case, the key was the horrible condition of memory loss. Alzheimer's and dementia at its worst. But memory loss can also apply to old patterns, and then it is a good thing. Then you forget to keep your pain in focus and open up for healing instead. Actually, memory loss is kind of the last resort of a soul to find its way back to the right path when the pattern it is stuck in, refuses to let go, instead of letting the same scenery unfold over and over and make even more sticky traps impossible to get out of. Then the soul disengaged the automatic reactions of the personal karma and allows healing to take place. Of course, it's not obvious that this healing happens in every case because everyone around has a personal choice. So this opportunity came to my mom and me, and I am so grateful. So when the heart is ready, things can happen that actually feels like miracles. And knowing the earlier life details has for sure helped me understand the difficulties and pain in my mom's and mine relation. Knowing her childhood traumas too as well, of course, has helped me to understand from where she comes. And it seems we have pretty much the same ones. And this is really a peculiar way of common karmic patterns to be prepared for two individuals from each one's childhood, making them gravitate towards the same kind of situations to awake the same kind of pain inside that will ignite clashes meant to force them into emotional remembrance and in the long run into solving things. And I find this so interesting. Understanding life and its reactions is such a giant puzzle, and it for sure leads further to understanding karma. And as well, the logic of the soul being human is such an exciting thing, since we are born into amnesia with invisible information from our earlier incarnations written on the blank sheet that we are. Information that is supposed to be encoded through the impact it has on you, leading you into the situations and contexts your soul still needs to explore and learn about. If you draw to mind how you felt when you were a child about certain insignificant things, you can for sure find clues to your earlier incarnations too. For example, what fears do you have from early childhood? I had claustrophobia already as a little girl, so strong it made me smash anything that kept me trapped, without any natural reason coming from this life. It came from an earlier though, which became pretty clear when getting access to those World War II memories, which of course was part of the invisible information I came here with. I had as well a deep longing and love for the stars as a little girl. I stood outside cold winter nights at my parents' house in the northern parts of Sweden, staring at the stars with this unbridled longing within me. I have always known I belonged out there, and this is the one thing I have never ever compromised about if ending up in a weird discussion on the subject. And when in my early teens, listening to David Bowie's Starman, I cried. That starman waiting in the sky, wanting to come and meet us, but thinking he would blow our minds. Well, I wanted to scream, pick me! I want you to take me home, blow my mind. So both these explainable characteristics of a little girl to have came from the imprinted memories of my soul. One from a life just recently and the other from a past hardly possible to comprehend in time. Both just as important as the other, both withholding details and raw material meant to be included in the fabric of remembrance and understanding. So I was supposed to remember those things as well as share them. And this is the way it is in life. We have these invisible lines and codes coming with us, just like the lines in our hands, our fingerprints and our DNA. And this makes us unique, as well as it proves us being part of other contexts than the ones we find ourselves in this present life. So search inwards, explore yourselves, treat yourselves as those valuable treasures that you really are. Respect your bodies because they are compositions formed in the best fitting way, designed for your very special agendas in this present incarnation you find yourselves in. Isn't this a wonderful adventure, dear ones? And I want to explain to you why I hold this hand up in this way. Is because I managed to break it for a while ago, and I have to hold it high. So anyhow, I love you all, and thank you so much for listening to this, and bless you all, and bye for now.